Good morning and happy Friday. Today is October 9th, and this is what is happening on the mountain. Brief overview of what to expect today and over the weekend for public health and safety. First, we have 4 scheduled Caltrans projects that are affecting our traffic today and over the weekend. Our weather is going to be nice and cool this weekend, very fall-like. No hazardous weather forecasted. We'll see some cooler temperatures this weekend, but early next week we will see the return of our offshore flow, which will bring us warmer weather and lower humidity. Today, for the mountaintop, the fire danger remains elevated, but it does drop down, especially on Sunday, to normal. For the first time in months, which is great news. But it will pop back up into elevated next week with that return of the onshore flow. The Eldorado Fire, no updates in the last 2 days, so we're going to assume that it's still holding at 22,744 acres and 95% containment. This last 5% will usually could take some time because it's in such rough terrain. It's really hard to get a containment line, bulldozers, hand crews, etc. to finish up that last 5%. Yesterday and today, as far as the radar was showing, there was no hot spots, so that's good news. 10 crimes have been reported across the mountain in the past 48 hours. There are 3 power outages reported by Edison today. And then the Forest Falls area, there's still 612 customers without power due to the Eldorado Fire and the damage that was caused to the infrastructure. And lastly, 3 new COVID cases reported on the mountain in the past 48 hours. So that's what I have for you today. If you have a few minutes to stick around, we'll go into greater details, starting with traffic. Traffic's looking heavy in some areas due to road construction mostly. Today, from 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. over in the Big Bear area on State Route 18, you'll be down to 1 lane as Caltrans crews does some utility work between Talbot and Skyline. On State Route 38, between Old Mill and Jenks Lake, which is probably what's going on over here near Pines Anita, there's emergency Caltrans work going on for road repair, likely due to the Eldorado Fire. So that's between 6 this morning and 5 this afternoon. Tonight, just like last night and tomorrow night, the ongoing construction work down on the 210 may have a transition lane to the 330 closed at times between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. So watch out for that. And lastly, tomorrow, State Route 18, Cuffle Canyon area over here in Sky Forest. You'll be down to 1 lane as Caltrans does some utility work there as well from 6 a.m. to about 1 p.m. tomorrow. So a reminder, just slow for the cone zone and drive safely. Our weather is going to look really nice this weekend, very fall-like, highs in the mid-60s, lows going down to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, almost freezing in some areas tomorrow night, especially in the Big Bear Valley. Sunny skies mostly. However, we might see some clouds come in this evening and tomorrow, as a result of that remnants of the hurricane off the coast and a low pressure system that's sliding down along the coast from Alaska. We were hoping to see some moisture out of that and maybe even potentially a dusting of snow, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. On Monday, we were expecting the return of a Santa Ana event, a mild Santa Ana event, and that looked like it might be fizzling too, although we are still expecting a high pressure system, a ridge to build over the desert, which will bring an offshore flow back to the area, which will have some mild gust winds, but warmer temperatures and lower humidity. So our fire danger is going to actually be really low this weekend for the first time in a long time, but we'll expect it to elevate again a little bit midweek next week. So no Santa Ana threat forecasted, even with the return of that offshore flow. We don't expect to see anything for the next 7 days. Tomorrow will be the gustiest of days as we still have the onshore flow today, tomorrow, Sunday. and Monday. And I think Tuesday, Wednesday is when we expect to see it change directions. But tomorrow, expect gusts up to about 12 miles an hour in certain parts across the mountain. No fires burning on the mountain today. We are still in an elevated fire risk for today, but for the first time in a long time, there's some green on our map, which means little or no risk of fire down in the valley. So that is good. And actually on the mountaintop for Sunday, we are in the green. And then as this high pressure system returns to the region, and especially just because there's seasonal drying of our fuel moistures, we will see this threat potential for new starts or fire spread to increase again. So it should be a pretty safe weekend for us up here on the mountain. Fire danger still is extreme on the mountaintop, so all of the restrictions that go with that, but due to the improved weather as well as the containment of the Eldorado Fire, the 95% of the Eldorado Fire, the Forest Service has reopened, a partial reopening of the forest this weekend. So I did post a link on this Facebook page to what those restrictions are. Some minimal camping allowed. I do believe we're allowed to go mountain biking and hiking on the trails and picnicking, but just some pretty important fire restrictions. I think only propane stoves are allowed in the forest areas. And then our long-term forecast through the rest of the year is about average. We're slightly elevated this month, next month, and through December, and that could definitely change depending on what we see form with the long-range Santa Ana winds. It being a La Nina year, it's going to be a little hard to predict the Santa Ana winds out more than just a week or two, so we'll just have to stay diligent about that. And of course, we will keep you posted. So Eldorado Fire, no updates in the last 2 days, so we're going to call it still holding at 22,744 acres and 95% containment. Probably we are not going to see any smoke or heat come out of it today. It did flare up the other night a little bit, a pocket burning, an island burning within the containment area, which is normal. But the latest satellite run doesn't show any heat coming off that fire right now, and there's nothing else going on the mountaintop. We had 10 crimes reported across the mountain in the past 48 hours, 5 of them over here in the rim communities. So a couple of narcotics arrests, an assault with a knife over in Twin Peaks, some graffiti over in Running Springs, as well as some petty theft and grand theft reported. Over in the Bear Valley area, another 5 crimes reported. Someone had their license plate stolen, fraud, a couple of people arrested for possession with controlled substances, and one of them with intent to sell, and a residential burglary reported. Edison currently has 3 scheduled power outages that are expected to be completed between 2 and 3 o'clock today. Not a lot of customers over in Lake Arrowhead. 2 different outages, one for 27 customers, one for 8 customers as crews work to upgrade the power poles. Same thing in Running Springs, just 5 customers, and 612 customers in the Eldorado Fire area down here in Forest Falls are still without power as crews work to replace the infrastructure. Lastly, we have our COVID-19 update. 3 new cases reported in the past 48 hours across the mountain. Angeles Oaks, 3 cases with a minimum risk. 54 cases now in Big Bear City with a widespread risk. Big Bear Lake is holding at 59 with minimum risk. 12 for Blue Jay, minimum risk. Cedar Glen still is reporting the 0, so something's going on there. It was, I believe, 7, and this week they dropped it down to 0, so which is obviously good news. I'm just curious what happened to those 7 cases. They went back into the kitty of undetermined, or if they're just being reallocated more appropriately to the primary residence of the person. Might have been a clerical error all along, but we'll try to get some clarification on that. Crestline holding with 76 and a widespread risk. Fawnskin still has 3 minimal risk. Forest Falls 7 minimal risk. Green Valley Lake 1 minimal risk. 36 for Lake Arrowhead. Substantial risk, 4 in Rim Forest, minimal risk. Running Springs has a new case, bringing the total to 32 with a moderate risk. Substantial risk in Sugarloaf with 13, substantial risk in Twin Peaks with 12. So you can look and see how does that compare. The rim communities, moderate risk, the Bear Valley communities, including that 38 corridor, moderate risk. So overall mountain communities, we have a moderate risk of spread or moderate risk of spread. And substantial risks in San Bernardino County, rest of the state, widespread risk in the rest of the country. So we're doing fairly well up here on the mountain. So that's all that I have for you today. Feel free to message me, text me, email me, follow along on our social media groups. I will give updates all weekend long, changes to the weather, any other breaking news related to public health and safety. Have a wonderful day.